Here we are, live on this fine Saturday night. Triple J show. We're missing Johnny tonight. Hopefully he'll join us when he can. I mean, he's got those little kids at home, stays pretty busy. And I can tell you, I know you got to take care of family stuff. Today we went for a drive to the animal. I got to put a plug in for this place real quick, you guys. There's this place out. It's north of Kanab, Utah on Highway 89, and it's called the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. 3,700 acres of animal sanctuary. It's pretty cool. So there's different sections. There's dogs, cats, horses, birds, and people take their animals there instead of killing them. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, we went there to look at some birds. Well, there's a bird in the house. So it came home with us. One of them did. One of the 70 birds. It's an Amazon parrot. So that's what we did today. I barely got back in time to do this show. Welcome, Jacob. Welcome to the show. We have many topics that we've discussing tonight, and we haven't really picked one. And so we're going to it's going to be an interesting show tonight. It'll be fun. You guys help us out and join in with us. Welcome to the show. We got Derek, Riley. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for joining us. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John, for the introduction here. So it looks like we have two of the three heads in this hydra, guys. So hang in by the seat of your pants. We're going to go through like an article. This will be like a Streamlabs. If you guys have ever seen Streamlabs when you go on YouTube or whatever, and you have like these, we call them dumpster in the Reddit world, like the Reddit world, we call that dumpster fire streams, where you just shoot the breeze and you talk about random articles. That's kind of the feel of what we're going to do tonight, because we really didn't have anything planned in terms of a specific topic. We all know the impeachment's a big deal, but we figured we'd take a little bit of a different twist today. I figured we could start talking with this Virginia gun bill. I'll go ahead and put this link in here. So, well, there's no bill actually, but there's an article, I should say. That's the correct way to say. There's an article I found. You could say it was probably fake news, but it's a hot and heavy topic right now in Virginia, and it is really, really something to look into, because they are talking about taking away Americans' constitutional rights. And for those of us who know the Second Amendment, we know that Congress shall make no law that, I'm paraphrasing here, that doesn't confiscate or limit your ability to own a firearm, unless you're a convicted felon, of course. But otherwise, hey, John, could you pull up that article? I put it in the private chat. Anyway, guys, we'll go through this article real quick. So basically, for those of you guys who haven't followed this at all, this is a really important story, and the mainstream media really hasn't talked about a whole lot. So Virginia, they voted in this. Okay, backstory of Virginia, guys, is they've had a lot of legal immigration, not illegal, but they've had a lot of legal immigration with Koreans and a lot of people from Southeast Asia to work in the government and do work in a lot of their industry. And the demographics have really changed. And when I speak of demographics, there's basically, you can just sum it up to values, okay? So they're going to vote according to their values, okay? So all these people that are coming into Washington, the Washington, D.C. area, the suburbs flow into Virginia, and that makes up the state's bulk of the population. And with that comes, we don't want guns anymore. And this guy right here, he's the governor of Virginia, and I guess he's threatening. This is all hearsay. I don't know if this is an actual fact. I couldn't find any corroborating evidence or anything further beyond this, but he's threatening to cut electricity. He's threatening to, cut electricity, take out people's internet, all to prevent these sanctuary counties, Second Amendment sanctuary counties, from all collaborating and forming militias of their own, resistance militias. And as you guys can tell, I don't know if you guys have followed this at all whatsoever, but this is a major problem, guys. This is why Trump won, okay? There's a concept in the Reddit world we call virtue signaling, where if you're in front of a group of people, you're going to say what sounds good to look good in front of your peers, but privately you don't feel that way. a lot of people don't tell you how they really feel about like Trump. They out in public, oh, I hate the guy, I can't stand him. But privately, they'll go vote because they know this type of stuff's a problem. This out of control immigration, legal and illegal, it's completely out of control. And what the Democrats have figured out over all these years, guys, is you can stuff the ballot box and strip citizens of their rights. They don't need to do it through legislative and judicial means. They can do it first by stuffing the ballot with voters. Then they can pack both the House and the Senate with all Democrats. They can eventually have the executive, like the governor or the president, and then after that, they can appoint all the judges, pack the courts. Boom, there goes the country. And the Second Amendment, guys, this is what makes America unique, okay? If there's one thing that makes America unique, it's the Second Amendment. You take away the Second Amendment, I mean, there goes America, because then we can't protect the First Amendment. And that's it. We're just like everybody else. We're Brazil. We turn into Brazil, or we turn into freaking some other country. We turn into Argentina or Panama, or we turn into any large country that had a huge inflow of different ethnicities and different cultures. There's nothing great about America at that point anymore. What do you think, John? What do you think about people getting their gun rights potentially taken from them?
Well, of course, I am a staunch 2A supporter. I was just looking at this bill, House Bill 64. This is Senate Bill 64 from Virginia. And the thing I found, I kind of saw this and heard it before, but it talks about the teaching and demonstrating the use, application, or making of any firearms. You can't make firearms, okay? Well, part number 2 is the part that gets us all. I mean, you can't even go out and shoot with your family, right? This assembles with one or more persons for the purpose of training with, practicing with, or being instructed in the use of any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons intending to employ such training for use in or in furtherance of civil disorder, or, and it goes on and on and on to say, once a bill like this is enacted, what stops them from taking it further? So, we got 3 kids and 2 adults. That's what, 5 of us would go out and start shooting. We're teaching the kids how to shoot and how to properly use a firearm, how to target acquisition, and what's to say that this, it doesn't fall under this. And now all of a sudden we're all criminal, and we lose our guns because we were practicing in militia tactics. No, we weren't. The family is out shooting guns. But where does this end? And so it's a bad deal all the way around. And these governors, I don't even know how to say about it, but they're trying to overthrow all of our freedoms. And I heard Jacob say it just a minute ago about once it's all gone, what is there? And that is right. We are the last free society. And once they take that away, then they control. It's all government control. And from history where that's going to get us. I mean, look at Venezuela right now. All the crap they're going through. Cuba, these places that are socialist countries, and there's a reason why those people flock to this country. It's a reason why they migrate here, try to come in and be citizens and be productive citizens of this country, because the country that they come from isn't so great. That you hear the term. Well, I'm going to try to keep this clean. Trying to stay on YouTube and not get booted off. So, these crappy countries. There's a reason why these people are leaving those places and coming here. I don't understand why, bit by bit, state by state, they want to take that out, take it, make us the third world country, on the same level as those third world countries. It doesn't make any sense. The American dream. What about the American dream? These folks don't care about that. They care about total government power, total government control. You don't think so? That's where we're headed.
Yeah, guys, it's something you need to think about. I had some notes here. I'm just reading off some notes I saved here for when I was reading this article originally. When I read an article, I generally get a pen and paper and I keep some notes. And for my background, just so you guys know my political persuasion, if you will, I'm a constitutionalist. They call that an originalist. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, okay? And the whole point of the Constitution is to safeguard against a government like this. See, Virginia, they're a state. They're not the feds. In other words, they're not the federal government. They're just a state government. They have no right to take away guns, even in their own statehood. Now you could say, Jake, they can secede. That's fine, but they legally, there's something called the supremacy clause, where any state law that violates federal law won't be enforced or enacted. So if he calls let's say the governor calls the National Guard would take his phone call and hang up on him and say, "Look, you're violating the Constitution. We're not gonna move an inch," especially under a Trump administration. No way. So anyway, the Constitution, guys, was designed. The framers had it in mind to safeguard against governments like this. When they come for your rights, the only thing you have are your guns, guys. What else do you have? You have rocks, words, guys. Words. Words only go so far, but when there's no political solution, what else can you do? There's not a damn thing you can do. You need your guns. The reason they call gun ownership the Second Amendment, because it's the second most important, the first most speech, because that's how you create political solutions, is with free speech. But it takes the Second Amendment to protect the First Amendment. You have to have the Second Amendment to protect the First Amendment. Now, who do I blame for all this propaganda that's going around? And let me tell you something. This sentiment is growing larger and larger. And I don't blame immigrants for this, okay? Immigrants just come here. They want to enjoy the American life, whatever. Here's what I blame. I blame the media. I blame our academic institutions. And I blame all the entertainers for, because they have, if you go on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, not so much YouTube, but Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, especially Instagram and Twitter, these celebrities have huge followings. Like, I think like the top 100, all the followers are either they're entertainers. They take up literally like 70% of all the eyeballs on these social media platforms. Entertainers, like soccer players on Instagram, like the Kardashians, athletes. All they're doing is preaching this, take guns away. White people are bad. All this stuff. America's a bad country, and that's a lot of faith, a lot of eyeballs seeing that. That's a lot of eyeballs, and the sentiment's slowly shifting because of all the propaganda. The media organizations say, "Oh, these white people are bad. The gun owners are bad. This is, guns are, crazy, turning you into tyrants and makes you an evil person." And what's funny, guys, is if you can't, make guns illegal and all of a sudden they just disappear. You got to have law so the people who are law abiding can protect themselves from criminals. And who's to say those criminals won't act against their own government? I mean, who knows? If they have an incentive to do something against the government, criminals could act against the government. Now, I don't know how successful they'd be, but the point I'm trying to make with all this, guys, and this is the reason why it's a big article, is because this is a sign of things to come. Think of it as a canary in the coal mine. It's starting in Virginia. As the more demographics change and change and change, we're going to expect to see this more and more and more. I can expect to see this in Texas soon. It'll definitely happen in California. I'll see it happen in California, Washington State. It's going to happen. All these states that are taking in lots of immigrants, they're going to have major, major changes. So Virginia is just one of many. I see New York going this route. I see Washington State going this route. Oregon, California. I'm trying to think of some others that have taken in just a huge flow of migrants. Texas, we've taken in quite a bit in the Houston area. We've taken in a lot of immigrants in Houston, and just any other city that's taken in a lot of immigrants. Maine, I could see Maine doing this. Maine just took in a ton of Africans.
Isn't there another up in the Northeast, Michigan or something? What's that?
Yeah, Michigan. Okay, Michigan and Minnesota. I could see those two flipping over, not right away, but over time as the demographics begin to pour in, and of course they have kids and they have families and such, uh, and as those kids grow up and they become voters and taxpayers themselves, they're going to vote to their values. And to a larger point, I don't want to digress too much here off the topic, but um, this is why assimilation is so important. You can't have competing tribes all living next to each other, else you'll have chaos. The whole point of America was a unifying body. You could have a difference of ideas and have your own little communities, but you had to buy into some larger community, which was America. That's why they had 50 states in one America. So you could choose wherever you wanted to live, wherever was best for you. Basically, it supports freedom. But if we have people that come here that don't support freedom, well, what's the use of fighting people overseas when you might have enemies right here in your front yard? Just because somebody has a Democratic ballot on their ballot, or just because somebody is from, say, I'll just make up a country, say Argentina, that doesn't necessarily make them American. Sorry, I'm not politically correct here, but if they come here legally or illegally and they don't buy into the American way of life, sorry, you're not an American in my book. If being an American is the values, sharing values. Hell, you could be somebody from the UK or Canada. If you have those values of freedom, I would consider you somewhat American, even though if you're not a legal citizen. But someone who comes here who says they need to strip white men of all their power, like Presley and that Ilhan Omar, when they want to strip white men of their guns and their power, those two women aren't American to me. They're communist, socialist, secular progressives to me. Those two aren't freaking. They're not American. I don't care if they were born here or not.
Right.
That was just me riffing on my personal opinion.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to add some of mine to it too, because we are not
Mm-hmm.
politically correct here. This show isn't politically correct. If you're looking for politically correct, this isn't the right show.
Yeah.
This show is to talk about the hard stuff, the stuff that people aren't really talking about. So hopefully you don't get easily offended. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a pretty good group on here today. Welcome, all of you guys. Feel free to share our show if you want to with your friends, family, whatever. It airs every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. I see there's some Northeastern people on here. And then that would be 6 p.m. Pacific time for us guys out here in the Southern Nevada area. So feel free to share our show, join in, put your comments in. It's for everybody, join in. Like I said, join in, add your comments and whatnot, and join in the discussion. We'll be happy to have you in the discussion. Now, back to the politically correct. Here's my issue with that, and this is my issue with it. It's the way I see it. So we've been talking PC for a lot of years now. What does politically correctness mean? Well, and this is the Johnny version of what politically correct is. It's watching what you say so that you don't offend somebody who has a different system than you do, a belief system, if you will. Well, in my opinion, if you're going to come over here to enjoy the freedoms that we have to escape the cesspool that you're leaving behind, then you adapt and adopt to the way we do things here. Our laws, our regulations, our flag, our constitution. You live by that. Why do I have to be politically correct when I talk about the cesspool you came from when you escaped that place? I have a problem with that. I think that political correctness is a lot of what's got us where we are today. Now, case in example. I'm going to use this as an example only because it's fresh. It just popped in my head. Bakers own a bakery, making pastries, baked goods, cakes, whatever, right? And they choose to not make a cake for an LBG, whatever it is, G, Dave, ABCDQ, whatever. They choose to not make the cake. They get sued and they lose a lawsuit. Breaks them. Why in the world do they not have the freedom to do or not do the cake if they want to? Who gives a shit? What if it was for a motorcycle club and they didn't want to do it? Do we get to sue them then? Or is that, you know, this political correctness, this BS is what's got us into this mess that we're in now. And you tell somebody they can't come into the bank with their head covered and they turn around and sue you.
Yeah.
We've lost so much ground
that was
fought for so many years ago for the freedoms that we have because of political correctness. This is my opinion, is how I see it. And I think it's a bunch of crap. I personally don't think we should be rude and, you know, in your face offensive to people, because we're humans. We're all humans. We should be respectful. But me not saying something or watching what I say or what I do or what I post in fear of offending somebody, BS. That's crap. It's crap, you know. And come here, adapt and adopt the ways, or don't, or go the hell back to your cesspool you're trying to escape, because we're not that cesspool and we're not gonna be.
No. There's, just so everyone understands where all this comes from. So I don't want to use certain buzzwords because I know we'll get flagged in this video. I just know what's going to happen. So I'll take the rated G version of this. So basically, especially in that case, to talk about with John, with that baker, he was a gay couple came in, wanted him to bake a cake. He's all, based on my Christian values, I can do it, but I can bake your birthday cake, or I can sell you some cookies. I just can't make this theme of cake. And the Colorado ACLU went nuts. Now let me explain to you guys what the American Civil Liberties Union is all about. Okay, this is what happens when you don't have people that have American values in these court systems. I keep saying to everybody, being American is more about being your value system than your green card or your citizenship card. All a citizenship card is, guys, all it is a piece of paper. That doesn't mean nothing, okay? What being an American is, it's about having a unique set of values that is pro-freedom. Now, to the point of free speech, okay? If you don't have the freedom to speak however you wish, what that does is it controls thoughts. Okay, so if you can't speak the way you want, it controls your language. And when it controls your language, it culls your speech and it culls everything else, to the point of now you're acquiescing to a foreign body, okay? And they're on foreign territory. And for those of you guys who want to make the argument of, well, you guys are on foreign territory too. Well, guess what? The Native Americans that got here, they were on foreign territory before we got here. So shut up, okay? I just want to address that before I even get to that point, because that is always the rebuttal when I bring this up. But anyway, when you have a foreign actor, and they could have been born in the United States, okay? By all means, they could have been born, but if they're raised in a household that doesn't believe in America's values of freedom, I'll just use freedom as just a unique American value, okay? When you can't speak freely on an issue, okay? And I'm not encouraging being rude, but here's the deal. You can't control how someone's going to interpret your speech. People could look at this conversation John and I are having as offensive speech. You can't control an individual's ability to regulate their own emotions. That is a form of narcissism. If you are so offended by everything all the time, I'm reading this book, The H Factor Personality, and he talks about the reason why narcissism is growing, because what we're doing is we're insulating people in like these little safe little areas where you can't talk about this, and then that's how narcissism gets out of control. Guys, the whole point of freedom of speech is to talk about difficult issues. When you control speech, you control thoughts. When you control thoughts, now you're acquiescing. You're acquiescing to competing interests. Okay, you're not fighting. I should say fighting. They're not. Your ideas aren't competing on equal footing. They're given special immunity, whereas your ideas already have an uphill battle compared to ideas that are, they call it protected speech and protected classes, which is a joke if you ask me. I mean, we elected Obama in 2008. Everything as far as protected classes and protected speech just needs to go away at this point. We've proven we can elect minorities in this country if they have the right ideas, the right values, and the right whatever, fill in the blank there. We will elect the right person if it's a man, woman. You could say to me, "Oh, well, we haven't had a woman yet." Well, that's because the woman who's came along hasn't been the one the Americans want yet. Okay. Well, I know we would elect a woman. I know we've already elected a person of color. It's all about values, guys. I push this so hard. Values, values, values. But because of all the propaganda they send down the pike through the media and these academic institutions, and notice how these two institutions, they have certain protections where you can't challenge them. There's a reason for that, because again, it's narcissism. They want to insulate themselves from the marketplace of ideas and have these special protections. Oh, only we can give away degrees. Nobody else in the marketplace can give away degrees. Only we have degree granting ability. The media, oh, only we can get the specific corporate stamp of approval of we're trusted sources. Even though they get, I think the New York Times had like 80 retractions this year already. 80 retractions. That's trusted media. Give me a break. Not to mention their liberal bias.
Right. We have a comment here from Eddie. Says,
yeah, let's put some comments.
I understand that those bakers won in an appeal, but the financial damage already been done. That is correct. That was probably a poor
the guy
to use for political correctness. I was just wanting to make a point that it's gotten to the point where we can't speak freely without the fear of having a lawsuit placed against us or something from different groups, whatever that group might be. It became way too easy in this country for them to win lawsuits against us, and it's damaging. It's damaging to us. It's crippling. It's crippling our freedom, piece by piece, little bit by little bit. And as we talked earlier, from state to state, state to state, it's just like Jake said, it's a state level, and there's only so much that they can even do.
Yeah.
But still, try to go ride your motorcycle or drive your car into California carrying a concealed weapon, get caught doing that. You can't do that in that state. Nevada, I can. Arizona, I can. Utah, Colorado, you can't. Colorado, California, Illinois, DC, there's places, New York City, or New York, period, New York State.
Yeah.
There's states that are already on top of taking your rights away. They're on a state level. But in that state, they can do that. They can regulate that. And you go try to fight that. And it's gotten to the point where even the state Supreme Courts, not the federal Supreme Court, but just on the state level, it's gotten doggone tough for us to defend our rights and win in those situations.
Absolutely, man. And that's the more sinister thing. That's what's going on in this country. Is just I just can't emphasize to everybody listening and watching at home or wherever they are on their smartphone or wherever they're listening, watching, that the values are what matter, guys. When you have competing values, if there's a little bit of difference, that's where we have the First Amendment, so we can talk about certain things. But if you call a baker a hate group, he opens his business. He's a private company, okay? He can choose to do business with whoever he wants. And obviously, like I said, the Colorado ACLU, they are way left wing. And then, getting the right judge these days, because these law schools so poorly train judges today. They train them based off of Marxist doctrine, let's face it. they have a Marxist doctrine toward the United States of America, the American Constitution, I should say. And he got the wrong judge, initially the wrong judge. Then they appealed it, Colorado Court of Appeals, or hell, I think it was the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals, I think is where it went. And then it got overturned. But yeah, as the commenter mentioned, the damage was already done. He already lost his business and already bankrupt, and they ruined the guy. I mean, the guy came on, I can't remember what news organization it was. I don't know. I think it was Fox News or Fox Business is what he was on. He gave him an interview. I mean, it completely ruined his life over a birthday cake. And a lot of people said, oh, you should have just made him the cake and made it go away. Well, here's the problem with that, guys, is when you acquiesce to these people, you're giving up your freedom. Say it however you want. When you acquiesce to other bodies, call it the LGBTQ community, when you make special arrangements for them, now you're telling the whole business world, my values can be negotiated with. Now, what does the guy stand for? I mean, he has these Christian values. I guess that's what the origin of what it was over. Now, so it's like anything's up for grabs now. If he's willing to compromise his most cherished values, anything's up. He's signaling to the public, basically anything's up for grabs now. Go ahead and try to exploit me. So he has to, when it comes to values, you have to make a stand. And what's funny is, I don't want to talk about this too much, but there's this whole flag burning incident where this kid, he's going to do prison time for burning this LGBTQ flag. But then right when Colin Kaepernick has these big protests, they're burning the American flag, not at the football game, but just around these rallies and such. Mm-hmm. You can burn the American flag, and that's fine, but you can't burn an LGBTQ. This is what happens, guys, when you have protected classes. See, you level. But when you have a protected class, you artificially elevate them to where you give them an advantage to where now you're not even competing on equal footing. They have immunity. It's almost like playing a video game on God mode. Like when you have like all these special speech immunities. And I'm not encouraging people to be rude, but what I'm saying is these conversations need to happen. Saying, why can you burn the American flag and say that's free speech, but if you burn this flag, you go to prison? Like, what's going on here? This is inconsistent. But why is that? It's these activist judges and these activist freaking left-wing courts and left-wing legislators. That's what's going on. And what does that have to do with, everybody? Values. It all comes down to values,
which we're being stripped of. The values that this country was made on are being taken away one at a time. It's not okay to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school because PC, we might offend somebody.
Yeah.
That's what we do in this country. We say the Pledge of Allegiance before school. Well, now we don't. Prayer is not to be given at ball games, school functions, whatever, public functions for that matter. I saw on a different page recently where a sheriff asked the people to pray for a deputy that had been shot, pray for the family. He got attacked by the Rights for something against religious freedom. I can't remember what it was called. And it was like the principles that the country was founded on and made a free country are all being taken away. Principles, values, one by one, and it's crippling. It's crippling us and sending us into the abyss.
Yeah, and I think that's what's creating all the polarization, John, is because these groups, whatever group they are, they've enjoyed these immunities, these protections, these immunities, and now they're using it as a weapon to beat us over the head with it. Like kind of like the let me shoot you, but you can't shoot me back. We gave them these protections so they weren't harassed. That was so if you guys go back to the civil rights movement, and we created all these special protected classes because they were being bullied, okay? And we wanted to let them have. Well, here's the thing. Now that they have these special immunities, now they're using it to bludgeon us over the head with their newfound powers. But a lot of that's the propaganda they're reading out in society you know, well, I don't want to go too far down that road because we're on YouTube here. I know what platform I'm on here, but anyway, to slightly shift topics here. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but George Zimmerman is suing Trayvon Martin's family, and this is related. This is perfectly related to the whole free speech thing because for those of you guys who don't remember, Trayvon Martin or Trayvon Martin's family. Well, I should say that everybody, like the media and everybody, accused George Zimmerman of being a white guy and a racist with a gun and a vigilante. Turns out there's a guy. His name is Joel Gilbert. He made this documentary. It is unbelievable. It's called The Trayvon Hoax. Okay, it's on Vimeo for $3.99. If you guys want to know where the source, you can watch it. Okay. He has a book, an accompanying book where he goes through more of the evidence and documents everything. It turns out that whole Trayvon Martin thing was all a lie from the very beginning. It was all a lie. And there was witness tampering too. So the family attorney swapped out witnesses. Prosecution buried evidence to prevent the defense from knowing any of this stuff. Oh, guys, it is so bad. It is so bad. But what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Okay. When you create all these protected classes and you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say, that's how you get all these crazy movements of, oh, everybody's racist and we live in this country where everything's all about race. And these news organizations, this is how they gain popularity and support, is through eyeballs and fear and panic. They can drum up these stories based on calling our speech. If we aren't able to openly talk about stuff like this, we're called racist, sexist, transphobes, Islamophobes, you name it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So when you get to the point, okay, where you can't even question a narrative like Trayvon Martin, and I remember this is what tipped off everything in America with the Michael Brown. That was another hoax, another hands up, don't shoot hoax. A freaking Obama Justice Department was the one that said that was all a lie. What's creating all this angst and all this polarization and divisions all the line? But why is it? We can't discuss things openly and freely without being called a racist. Well, who's the ones responsible for that? The education institutions and the media. The media for hyping it up, and the education institutions saying, oh, if you do anything, you're a racist, basically. But how did we get here, guys? It was all based off of teaching people that, oh, yeah, you should feel guilty about your culture. And there's these protected classes. We should prop them up artificially and keep you down here and make sure you have no way to fight back, no way to protect yourself in any kind of speech. And if you're accused of anything, damn it, you take it and screw the Sixth Amendment. Screw the due process and right to face your accusers. So this is what you guys can expect more of in the future, not less of. You can expect more Trayvon hoaxes, more ballot stuffing. You can expect more and more of this, guys, as we become more diverse. Okay? Here's the thing. If we have large bodies of people that are buying into the American system, it doesn't matter where they're from because they're Americans. They have it in their heart and their values, their mind. But if they're staying Syrian or they're staying Somalian when they get here and they're still Somalian, we have enemies within the gates, okay? There's no point of having a wall. The Trojans having this big wall in Troy. There's no point if you open the gates and let them in. There's no what point is it? Well, why are we fighting in the Middle East for 20 years? Well, we have enemies right here in our own United States. Why is that? I mean, it's just think about it. I mean, just what's your thoughts on the whole Trayvon thing? Like, just I don't want to talk too much about it, but just basically, what do you think about political correctness in terms of we can't even discuss topics like this Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman? We can't even discuss stuff like this because they're, oh, you might be racist, John, if you even bring it up.
That's I mean, to tie in everything that kind of we're saying tonight, that's kind of the whole gist of this whole conversation, because in the PC world, it's not okay to talk about certain topics. Other topics, it's quite all right. And I mean, it all falls under like a censorship. We talked about this in a previous show, the big tech censorship and all that stuff. But as far as the Trayvon Martin, you know, the whole thing was, well, it was a mess, and I think that 44 didn't help in all of that. He
No,
kind
he
of
didn't.
helped
No.
push an agenda. He kind of
Yeah,
helped
he
used
was a
it
big part of it.
to
And
push an agenda.
LeBron, like entertainers were a big part of it, like the
Yeah,
Hollywood elite,
everybody
athletes,
jumped
they
on
were
the
all a big part of
bandwagon
it.
to use that incident, to use it to further, you know, an agenda or push an agenda or cause people to think a certain way. And it, you know, it's a mess. We've allowed this mess to happen. I think, you know, I don't have the answers myself to fix this mess, but gradually, you know, we've sat back and let things change to a point and happen to a point to where we're in a pretty good trouble. We're not sitting pretty right now because we, first of all, we can't speak. You know, our freedom of speech is being censored so bad. And second of all, you know, they're coming after the Second Amendment, as Jacob talked about earlier. And without, I mean, we're done. We're doomed. Once those two are gone, we're doomed. You know, you see I've seen them before. I was going to find it, but like I said, I was on the road today and I didn't get back in time. But there's the meme with all the people standing here, you know, and you got the one, or all of the people standing there, and you got the one, you know, the one that's different, that doesn't follow like a sheep, and it makes it pretty rough to accomplish anything really.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that we just need to have the conversation. Now, look, you guys might be listening to me saying, "Oh, you know, Jake, you're crazy," but here's the deal, guys. When you have a frontal assault on this country and it's happening, if you don't think it's happening, you aren't paying attention. We are having a full frontal assault on this country from every direction right now. They're doing it in the ballot box, they're doing it in the media, they're doing it in our schools, they're doing it in all the entertainment venues. It's happening full blast. I mean, crank it is they're doing everything they can without shooting a bullet at us. Why do you think they want to push guns to get? Why do you think they're pushing so hard with guns? They know if we have no way to defend ourselves, eventually a Democrat can take over the presidency. There you go. I mean, how can you defend yourself at that point? They know this country, we can protect ourselves if we have the right to own guns. But to the larger point with this is we're losing this country little by little of what it was because of our values. I think somewhere along the way, and I can't point this out, but Charles Murray kind of talked about a little bit in his Coming Apart book, but somewhere along the way, we lost confidence in our values. Like someone came along, introduced some ideas, which is good. It's good to have a challenging confrontation of ideas so you can, let the best idea go in the marketplace and win. But somewhere along the way, we really lost faith in ourselves in this country. We just somewhere along the way, we just lost faith in what we've built here, what we've given to the world, what we've basically done for the world. We've lost faith in that. And I think that's what's allowed, as we become a sick country, that's what's allowed other these ideas, we'll call them pathogens. That's what's allowed these pathological ideas to come in and really, really do a lot of damage to this country to the point where it's almost unrepairable. I don't want to say it's completely unrepairable, but it's because some black swan event like Trump getting elected could happen somewhere down the road. We don't know what could happen, but this country's sick right now, man. It's really sick, and it's somewhere along the way. I think we just lost along the way. That's just my belief, though.
Well, we have a group fighting against fixing things. So,
Exactly.
we've got the president in there trying to put things back the way they should be for our freedoms, reinstalling our freedoms. And we have the left group pushing against everything that he tries to accomplish. They're not allowing those fixes to be put in place. And so it's kind of it's really saddening to me to know that you have American people fighting American people for our freedoms that we all so enjoy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it really doesn't make any sense to me.
But that's where I think I come along with the thought of we've lost confidence somewhere along the way. But see, these kids that are my and Johnny, well, they're not kids, they're grown men and women, but I would say just a little younger than me and Johnny. I'd say about 5 or 10 years younger than us. The other Johnny was or John, I should say, is so the parents, I don't know if it was the parents of the academic institutions like K through 12 or the culture at large. There's been a consistent effort at telling kids of my generation of, your country, you stole this land and you guys occupy foreign governments and you people are just evil and bad. And Christianity is just this oppressive religion and you guys are all a bunch of intolerant bigots. Somewhere along the way, like here's principle, and what our country was built off of principle. Somewhere along the way, tolerance is down here, like hippie type of tolerance, like accept anything, let anything go, no rules, just kind of just we're all a bunch of hippies around a campfire. Somewhere along the way, tolerance went up slowly, and then principles, enforcing principles, because let's face it, you can have principles. If you don't enforce those principles, you don't have principles. Our principles slowly descended down, and over time, this tolerance has became like this virtue of just tolerate anything and principles down here. And you see when the president gives speeches about this will be a country of law and order, he's talking principle, okay? And you hear people say, "Oh, he's an authoritarian. He's like Hitler," and it's like these people are so. And these people are in mainstream media institutions. These aren't like bloggers or YouTubers. These people are making multi-million-dollar salaries and they have a million eyeballs a night on them talking about how he's Hitler and Washington Post, democracy dies in the darkness. Oh, anyway, I'm kind of going off on some tangents here, but what I'm trying to say to you guys with all this is somewhere along the way, we lost confidence in our country. Think of the time when we had the 1896 Chinese Seclusion Act. We basically stopped all immigration from there all the way to like 1965. It was a long ways. We had a united country, a strong country. We had values were all aligned, like the World War II generation, Great Depression generation. They all were united and they were all together. There was a sense of community. Why is it? Because you force people to somewhat get along. There's going to be fringe elements, on the outsides, but they all had to buy into a system. Not this anything goes hippie. Oh, let's put tolerance above everything and let's principle down here. But if it's against Americans who love the flag and love America, get rid of those guys. And if you're a Christian, oh yeah, you too. So I think somewhere along the way we lost confidence, and I blame the media. I blame the media and academic institutions for that. They're the ones that put a lot of this damage and brainwashed a lot of these kids. And of course, a lot of these entertainment institutions haven't helped at all either, like Hollywood and you see all these different network television shows.
The media has been conditioning us for a long time, and we've been buying into it, up until I guess the social media became real popular and a lot of people started doing their own shows and stuff. And a lot of it is with this presidency. A lot of stuff came to light that we may not have known, but they've been conditioning us for a long time. Well, along with that, and you hit on it just a second ago, is with the school system. And they took good stuff out that we were founded upon and the beliefs and values of this country, and they're replacing it with other stuff that I mean, they've got the kids convinced today that the Holocaust may never have even happened.
That's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Erasing our history. They're not teaching the history.
Oh man,
you can't talk about religion in there. However, they push. They've got this whole section, and it's going to come up pretty controversial here pretty quick, I think, about the Muslim faith that they're putting in the schools and teaching these kids. But we can't teach Christian, about Christian values and the Bible, and all of that stuff's kind of gone.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
We've been infiltrated from within. We've got people in positions that shouldn't be in those positions that came through 44, and they're there, and we're having to deal with that right now. I don't know how we don't just take them out. I don't take them out of the position. I don't know how we leave them in there fighting against the values upon which this country was founded upon and stuff. So, but the point I was trying to make, or where I was headed with this whole piece, was a generation of kids that hate the country will also fail to defend that country, right? So create all this hate, create all this through a whole generation. Pretty soon us old timers are going to be gone. And then you've got this generation that hates the country because Christopher Columbus was bad. We stole the land. We did this. We did, everything that they're being taught about it's misinformation. It's untrue. It's not right. And they're being taught that, and they're being made to believe that. And so they're believing that we've done a lot of bad, and they're disliking the country, hating the country for it. And pretty soon they're not going to defend, fight. They're not going to fight for the country. And bam, it's gone.
Well, I mean, if you guys go into like Facebook, just if I were you guys, I'm not encouraging you guys to spy or anything, but just kind of be a voyeur. Go into like these really hot political debates. I'm sure every one of you have a Facebook friend of some sort who gets involved in these hot political debates. Look at the comments below some of these videos. Like if you talk about abortion or the wall, or you talk about China, you would be amazed. Actual data you see right in front of your face, people commenting from their own profiles. This isn't made up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You would be stunned how many kids just can't stand this country.
Right.
They are the most prosperous, most entitled, best generation in terms of having resources and everything given to them. They hate this country more than any other country or any other generation. They hate this country. I would say approximately half of them. They hate this country. They hate, capitalism's so bad, and we have a president who's a criminal, and just
right.
And when you talk to these people, and this is why we need free speech, you talk to these people and you just have a civil conversation if they can be civil, you see that their ideas are so untethered to reality. Like Trump's a criminal, him and Putin, and they get together and they work all these plans. Like you're like, bro, we spent $40 million investigating this hoax. We came up with a big donut. You still believe this? And it's like these people, when they have to actually confront their own ideas and their own dogma and their own propaganda, they just go in like this invisible cocoon where they're just like, oh my goodness, and they don't even know what to do. It's like they've been cult conditioned to believe stuff like they're just like a bunch of robots just spewing like programs. It's the funniest thing, but again, we're not doing our duty as Americans in putting this fight with our speech, of course, putting this fight to these people, because they need to understand this country was founded upon the Constitution. Okay, and how the Constitution happened? Through Federalist paper. Well, I mean, through documents we can verify, I should say, through Federalist papers, through the Articles of Confederation, through a tyrannical government. They wanted freedom of religion, free speech. I mean, all this stuff was created to get away from big government, big tyranny. But now we're training kids from within to hate the country. It's like, what are we going to be? I'm actually, I don't even want to have kids because I'm worried about what they're going to have to inherit. their generation and their kids' generation. I mean, I can't even imagine what this country is going to turn into. Because, in a more sinister point I see here long term is people need to fight. Like me and you, like what we're doing right now, John. It is their look. We are adults. It is our civic duty to come and have these conversations. It is our civic duty. What do you mean you can just go to work and come home and not have to care about anything? Meanwhile, the pathogen of anti-America just grows and grows. What do you mean when you say, well, not you specifically, John, or the viewers, but just everyone has a friend like this? I know everyone has a friend like this. They pay taxes. They're good people. In their hearts, they're Americans. They just don't want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. It's draft time, guys. It's time for you guys to stand up and fight. And every one of these guys, they always tell me, I don't want to get political. Well, guess what? They're bringing the fight to your front yard. If you don't bring the fight into the commons, they're going to bring the fight in your yard, and you're going to be outmanned, outgunned, outlawed, out everything. You better. This is one of those preemptive type of situations where you got to use your speech while you still have it. Okay, and then the big boo birds come when they say, "Oh, you're being a heretic. You're being a heretic. You're going crazy." When the reality is, guys, pay attention. Look at football. Look at Netflix. Look at our academic institutions. They don't even have real degrees they're granting anymore. Look at how Evergreen College in Washington was taken over by SJWs and far left activists. Look at what's going on, guys. If you can't see this, you obviously haven't been paying attention. And burying your head in the sand, guys, if you don't take on the fight, it will come to your front door. It will come to your front door. I'm telling everybody right now, you don't need to get crazy with this, but you do need to speak up when you see stuff that goes against your values and your principles. Because tolerance, you can't have a society where tolerance is up here and principles are down here. Because, I mean, I promise you guys, that is a formula for chaos. Because we're all going to have competing interests in this tolerance world, and human nature overrules feelings, overrules feel good. If people are out of resources and they're starving, they need to take care of their kids or whatever they got to do. They're not going to be shy about having to take care of their business. But I'm telling you guys, put the fight to them. Put the fight to them. Don't be back on your heels and, oh, I don't want to get involved, Jake. I don't want to get involved.
Got to be involved. Somebody's got to be involved. I was just looking for a thing I saw. It was either today or yesterday, and I can't find it. But it said something to the effect that you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out.
Yep. Yeah. That's not Trotsky who said that, but yeah, it was no, it was McCarthy, I think, who said that. McCarthy was talking about communism, and he said you can vote your way in. And you know what? McCarthy deserves a lot of credit for this because he was the guy who originally started calling this stuff out. Like, hey, man, we're being infiltrated from within.
Right.
And he had a speech where he essentially said, you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out. And that was, I think it was McCarthy who said that. And he's absolutely right. If you vote, it's easy to just fill out a ballot and say, okay, I vote for this person, this proposition, whatever. That's easy, guys. Trying to reverse all that, oh my God, it's gonna require blood, guys. And guess what? They're bringing people from all these other countries to stuff the ballot box for them. They're bringing over shock troops every day via green card, via work permits, via whatever they have. They're bringing new shock troops over every day. And people who came here illegally, they got chain migration, they got birthright citizenship, and guess what? They can sponsor their own people to come over here. Those are shock troops, guys, and if you don't speak up, it'll end up right at your front door. And I guarantee you, your kids and your grandkids, they will never forgive you for this. If you were a coward and didn't speak up when you had a chance, they will never forgive you for this. Imagine what your grandkids are going to have to deal with. Just imagine that.
It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I get freaked out thinking if I had a son or a daughter, it'd be easy to be a woman today. But if I had a son or a grandson, oh man, I can't imagine the world he'd be inheriting based off of people's fear to type or speak. I don't want to get involved. I'm afraid, Jake. I'm afraid. It's like, bro, I mean, really? You're afraid to defend your guns or free speech or due process? Like, bro, when are you going to stand up? I mean, I don't care how big the dude is or whatever. I think he's a pussy. If he can't defend his basic principles and defend his family, I mean, how could someone even call themselves a man at that point? And yeah, you can say I'm low key calling men out. How can you even say you're? I mean, how can you even say you're a man if you won't defend your family, your principles, or anything? Because if you don't put the fight to these people, guys, it will inevitably hurt your family in one way or another. They're going to come after you, I promise, guys. But if we have a united front where all of us are fighting, we'll put them back on their freaking heels. Believe me, the left, they're weak. When they have a united front against them, oh, they fold. The only thing they have on the right is numbers because the right's like, I don't want to get involved or I don't want to. So it's generally like 10 of them against one person on the right because the right just doesn't, we don't want to get involved or we're above this. Anybody, any
Well,
other comments? I'm just riffing
welcome,
here.
just a welcome, Mr. Scouse Adventures, to the show. Appreciate you joining us, brother.
Heck yeah, man.
One of our northern across the border people.
Heck yeah, man. Love our Canadians, man.
Yeah.
I have this theory with Canadian YouTubers, man. It's because of you Canadians that platform got as big as it did. Look at people like Pigeon Speaks, Jordan Peterson. I mean, there's Romy Millennial. I mean, Stefan Molyneux. There's so many great content creators that came out of Canada. Tons. I mean, tons of great content creators came out of Canada.
For sure. Yeah. So when you were talking about, I just got a real quick thought, so before I lose it.
Sure.
Our grandkids. You brought that up, and I have grandkids. All my friends have grandkids, and that's the generation that's going to follow this mess up. They're going to be the ones left to deal with whatever's going on, whatever's happening. So it is worrisome, for sure, and that's why we're out here. That's why we try to speak up and try to get our word out there. We get censored a lot. We get shut down. Our videos get not demonetized because we don't do this for money, but they get pushed down.
Disabled. Yeah.
It's all a roundabout. That's how they're attacking us. That's how they're doing it. Shutting us up, not letting the truth get out there and stuff. There are a good lot of people out there that do news channels and stuff that are content creators, independent, that are getting the truthful news and putting it out there. There are a lot of those, and those are the people that I like to listen to. I don't listen to mainstream media anymore unless I want to, for shock value, talking points. But as far as getting news and trusting that news, negatory, not from there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Scouts Adventures. He's from Brit, but he's stationed in Canada.
Oh,
yeah, he's made that comment real quick. Appreciate. Yeah, sorry about that. Scouts Adventures.
Sorry about that,
but yeah, you're still part of the British common law system. You're just at the mothership is all. We're all part of this big network of British colonized countries. You're just at the mothership, sir. So no big deal.
Met him. He's a fellow motorcyclist.
Hell yeah, man. Good guy.
YouTuber.
Good man.
Yes, sir.
So how we doing on time, John? What you think?
We should be wrapping up. We're an hour 4, so we're good on time. I kind of I like this format for this week. It was something a little bit different, where we didn't pre-plan and we just kind of shot from the hip.
Yeah.
I think I think it worked well. It's not for every week, but I think it worked well for this week.
It sufficed. I mean, hey.
Yeah. For sure was some topics that needed to be talked about, and kind of like you said, to take the mind off of the other stuff that's going on. That is such a mess. So
the impeachment is a complete doo-doo show. I mean, it is just a joke. Oh.
Yeah.
In the Senate said 100 times, publicly and privately, We're not going to impeach him unless you have actual evidence of obstruction of justice, of quid pro quo. Like if you can provide, the Senate has told them many times, we're not doing anything. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So
And
they basically committed
money.
political suicide.
But I think it'll help. I think it'll.
I'm glad he got impeached. I think it's going to help him. I think it's going to help. He's going to gain seats in the House. I think now the Republicans are going to gain seats in the House.
They've already gained a couple.
Yeah, but they're going to gain a lot more, I think, now. That's why I was telling all my Trump supporting friends, hey, guys, this impeachment's good. Let it happen. Don't complain. Let these people dig their own graves. Don't stop them when they're screwing up like this.
Yep. Well, Christmas is next week. Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you have
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Good Christmas. Glad to have you, Mr. Scout's Adventures, whether you're late or not. Video will be posted if you want to go back and get the gist out of it. Feel free. It'll be there. Again, Merry Christmas. Hope you guys have a happy new year. You won't see us again. We will not be here next week. We're going to take a week off for the holidays. Kind of a week to regroup ourselves and whatnot. I'm trying to look at what date we'll be back. Let me look here.
I think it'll be next year, man.
It'll be next year
by the time we do the stream.
Until next
year. This is our last stream of 2019. We'll be back on the 4th.
The 4th.
It'll be the 4th.
January 4th, we will be back on the air. So make sure you come back and join us in January 2020. Oh my gosh, can you believe that?
Dude, a new decade. A new decade, not just a new year. This is a new I've been telling everybody, this is a new decade, not a new year. We're starting a new decade, 2020. Imagine 20 years ago we had that whole Y2K mess. The whole, oh my God, the computer systems are all going to fail, and nothing happened.
Right. Oh
they drummed up all this.
I worked that
They drummed up all this. Everything's going to fail. And
I worked nights that night. I was working the street, and I'll tell you, we were so geared up for that night. And talk about, I was going to say a letdown, cop work, but words.
Yeah.
It was like the night went on and nothing different than the night before or the next night. It was crazy because all the hype, and all your computers are going to shut down. Everything's going to everything worked fine. So it was kind of funny. But another funny point that I was thinking of sitting here was, I can remember I was a little hellion. I was a turkey when I was younger. I was just out of control butthead, for lack of better terms. And I can remember sitting there and thinking, man, if I can just live to the year 2000, I will have lived a full life and I'll just be happy and everything, because and 2000 came and went, and like I said, nothing happened. And here we are, we're looking at 2020, 20 more years later, or 20 years later. And it's like, oh my gosh, this thing, I've earned this gray stuff in here. And
that's hard earned.
That's
hard earned because you're wearing out. You're not rusting out.
right, and not rotten.
That's right. Yeah.
By any means, we don't sit still too much around here.
That's good,
the way I see it, you got a few years to go yet, but man, I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, you're not old until you sit in the corner and believe you're old, and
that's right.
Condemn yourself to a rocking chair. Besides physical ailments and stuff that forces you into the rocking chair, but and besides that, you're not old till you decide you are, unless physical disabilities or whatever force you into it. And that's kind of how I see it. But like I said, 2020, here we come. It's here. So
heck yeah, man. New decade. So next time we see our loyal viewers, accidental finders, subscribers, friends,
it's growing every week.
Next time we
see growing every week.
It'll be next decade we'll see them.
The next decade.
In the next decade. Right, man.
2020. I look forward to it. Be a good
2020,
year.
man. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, girls, ladies,
righty, guys.
gentlemen, folks, friends. Thanks for
All right,
joining
guys.
us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. And we're signing off. Have a great night.
We will see you in 2020.
All right. Take care, everyone.